I'm Brandon Munro. I'm the CEO of ASX-listed Bannerman Energy Limited. We're developing the Etango uranium project. It's a large-scale, long-life, large ore-body project in Namibia, the third largest uranium producer in the world. And I'm here with my colleague, Olga Skorlyakova, who has just recently joined us as Vice President Market Strategy.
Thank you, Brandon. Yes, I've just recently joined Bannerman and very happy about being in the team because, first of all, I like to work in the startup business because it's very diverse and a lot of new and exciting, job responsibilities are involved. But I joined Bannerman as VP Market Strategy. So my main responsibility will be market development and business.
Good. Well, lovely to meet you. So some intelligent commentary at last, I suspect, coming our way. We've been talking with the Bannerman story for some time now. So you've told us what you're going to do. Where have you come from? What's the experience that you're bringing to the table?
Well, I just recently joined Bannerman leading World Nuclear Association, where I worked for nearly 7 years, and I was responsible for the production of the World Nuclear Association nuclear fuel reports.
Yeah.
You probably know this publication very well.
Yes, I saw one this morning.
Yeah, that's great. And it will be officially presented tomorrow at the World Nuclear Association Symposium. And this is the publication that looks at the front end of the nuclear fuel cycle. We oversee all stages that uranium goes through the nuclear fuel cycle, starting from mining, conversion, enrichment, secondary supply as well, and fuel fabrication. And one of the major and the most interesting parts is also to speak about the projections of how nuclear industry itself will be developing, so how the demand will grow or fall. So luckily, since I joined World Nuclear Association, the demand is growing steadily.
Yeah.
So that's very exciting.
I'd take credit for that if I were you. It is growing. The report's actually fantastic. I did get a sneak preview today, and that's being launched tomorrow. But it's a great report. It gives the whole market, I guess, a big degree of confidence about the demand coming through. And it doesn't really even measure on the SMRs, which I think we layer that on top, and it's a very exciting time to be getting involved here. No, we're going to talk today about Bannerman. Okay. So apologies now for some of the terrible in-jokes, but we've been following this story. It's really an exciting culmination of a lot of work over the past few years, and from some of the people in the background here as well. What I'm interested in is timing the market, being in control of how you time that market with the aid of capital, which gives you optionality, but more importantly than that, what you've done with the project today. So maybe just for people new to this, remind us where Bannerman is today, and then we'll talk about how you kind of manage that process going forward.
Well, it's a fantastic week, Matt, to be here talking to a whole range of industry bodies with a shovel-ready advanced project.
Right. Oh, so I should say we are at the WNA conference, aren't we?
Yeah,
everyone's here.
London.
Yeah. Sorry, unusual.
So that's right. It's week. Yeah. I spent the last couple of days in working group meetings, in other WNA advisory group meetings, and kicking off in about an hour is the World Nuclear Association Symposium. The backdrop for us as an advanced project in Africa could not be better. First of all, we've got significant anxiety becoming emergent from and evident from utilities and other market players. A couple of years ago, that just wasn't the case. We could easily see it over the horizon, but it wasn't right in front of them, impacting their attitudes, impacting their actions. With recent developments in other parts of the world, including transport issues in Kazakhstan, including political issues in Nigeria, two of the largest uranium centers in the world, there's a real resurgent recognition or a remembering of the importance of a diversification of supply. Utilities want to bring new supply on, in particular from Namibia, which has been producing uranium for more than 45 years. And it's known as a reliable supplier. It's known as a supplier of uranium that can be sold anywhere in the world to any parties. And we are really at the forefront now with a couple of projects, unfortunately, hitting hurdles for some of those reasons, we're now very much at the forefront of fully environmentally permitted. We've done all of the technical work, definitive level feasibility, pilot plant operating for several years, and now advanced front-end engineering and design work. We're ready to start talking to market players and utilities and saying, the last bit is up to you. The last bit is market conditions and showing us that you need it.
So we are here, along with a lot of US utility buyers. They're downstairs. They're crawling over this, trying to work out what's going on, because they have been impacted with, obviously, Niger, 5-7% of world supplies. It's a big deal, that. And obviously, off the back of Russia-Ukraine situation, it's a big deal. And trying to find, supply partners who are reliable, they can deliver what they say they're going to deliver is a big part of this. You're going to be involved in, I imagine, a lot of those conversations. So what do you think, Olga, if I may, they are concerned about? What do they need to find out? What reassurance they need from a Bannerman, that perhaps Bannerman is the partner to play with?
Well, when we say we deliver, we will deliver for sure. That's no question. And so the project is moving smoothly and steadily, and I'm happy that we are in very advanced stage of the embedded engineering design, and of course we are waiting for our mining license when the ban. I think we will be able to move into the discussions with our future partners, and it's going on, and of course, when the business is starting, we can understand their difficulties. But I joined Bannerman because I know Brandon for nearly 7 years, and I trust him, and I trust the company, and I also got acquainted with the board. I see how experienced people work there, and they have massive experience. Our chief operational officer, again, Chamberlain, has massive experience. And when I see this team, if you talked with these people, you would understand that definitely the project.
So there's the kind of key drivers for you, and I imagine for some of the buyers too. They want that kind of assurance, that kind of steady, confident, conservative movement forward. So when is the time is it we need to get the license in hand before we can have meaningful conversations? You know where they are, they know where you are, but is that the kind of stepping point for them to move things forward meaningfully?
Yes, absolutely. So I think the time is always right, because the nuclear industry is a very specific industry, right? So you can't sign the contract within a couple of days. And with some companies you're working for ages, so when there is the window open and you have the possibility to proceed to the discussions and to come to an agreement. So the nuclear industry is also, it's very interesting because the contracts themselves are very long term, right? So in order to sign a long-term contract, sometimes you need to wait for the long time. So once the entire team is working to make it happen, it's already time to start talking with the partners, establishing these relationships and so on, and being ready. They should know that we are ready when we will be ready, and they should be able to come to us and say that we want to talk to you.
Okay, so it's a kind of slow run-up. So to help these conversations, need a license. What's the process? Because you've never kind of rushed into things and then had to stop and sort of look around and what do we do now? It's a case of we will time this, and you have been timing this, and you've raised money at the right time, so make sure you're not under financial pressure to do something silly. So license process for you is what? When do you do it? How long does it take typically in Namibia for these processes to run their course?
Yeah, so first of all, on the environmental side, we have all of those licenses. Licenses to build the mine, to operate the mine, even down to the environmental clearance that you need to build the temporary water pipeline to start turning concrete. That's all fine, and that's all in place. And they tend to be the long lead items in our sector, in the uranium sector, wherever you are. So if I was to be anxious about a license, I'd be anxious about an environmental clearance.
Okay.
The mining license, we lodged it about a year ago with the Ministry of Mines and Energy. That's a fairly typical amount of time Unfortunately, under our Mining Act in Namibia, there is no specified 90 days this, 120 days that. What we found, and we were in, well, as everyone who follows your energy show knows, we were in Namibia last week. And the ministry is very overwhelmed at the moment. Namibia is a relatively small country, as you know, because you've been there, and they're receiving a large number of prospecting license applications. So we're needing to be a little bit patient, and we're okay with that. We still feel that this market has a lot of potentiality that it's going to show in terms of development of price and development of term contracting conditions, where you would see floors, where you would see ceilings, where base price escalated contracts are going to be written. And so we've been at this project since 2006. You're quite right. We are willing to be patient. And there's really only two remaining factors. One is the mining license, and that's well in train. And then the other one is pricing that we think optimally reflects the potentiality of this sector.
Right. And what you've also got to do is time it for the financing guys and gals, because they want comfort that there are contracts in place, certainly to cover the kind of CapEx requirement, or certainly the equity. I guess the equity and debt's treated slightly differently, but you want to see those contracts in place, so that then informs, given the process you've been through with the engineering studies, etc., and then FID, whenever you kind of ready to press that button. How soon, given the length of time these relationships have to be formed, how soon do you feel you need to advance conversations so you've got some sense of whether it be a indicative terms or not that can cover that kind of CapEx? Do you know what I mean? Is that kind of arbitrage between how do you time that and how do you get enough? Do you don't need to sign up the whole, it's a big project. You don't need to sign it all away. You need to sign enough of it away. So when do you start that?
It's a very ongoing process. So as Olga said, these relationships, these partnerships, they're long-term, they've got long lead items. Where we've got a real advantage is that Etango is very well known in the sector. I'm known in the sector. Olga's exceptionally well known in the sector. So we're not starting from a standing start. And there's two things you need when you're contracting. The first thing is you need a price or terms and conditions that you're happy with. The second thing that you need is liquidity. You need the appetite from multiple utilities across the sector coming in at a time when you're ready to have the conversations, when you're able to have the conversations because you've got what's in place to be able to deliver.
Yeah.
And so that's what we think we've timed well.
Right. But you've got to pick a price at which you're happy to go just for the first tranche, as it were. The first contracts can be obviously at lower price. You expect the market to keep moving, so you don't want to give away all of the upside, so you just had enough for now. And when obviously clearly understood, right? But I think we're all...
Well, yes, pick a price. I'd say pick a range. Right, because remember, we're in a sector where at the moment you can write contracts at attractive prices in terms of where the floors are and where the ceilings are.
Yeah.
But as spot price goes up, that stack goes up as well.
Yep.
So there is an opportunity to time it so that you are getting potentially some attractive base price escalated contracts. That base price is not at a level at the moment where we would be happy to lock in base price escalated contracts, but we are seeing the stack of floors to ceilings starting to come into the zone that I think shareholders would be happy with.
Yeah, and the size of, I don't know who wants to answer this, I'm happy for you. The size of those contracts, obviously it's a first time to production for this asset, so therefore, you're not going to be a utility, go, I'll take the lot, please. It's not going to happen. You've got to prove yourself. So in terms of the size of those expected contracts, and therefore the number of utilities or buyers that you'd be expecting to deal with would be what?
Depends what you're talking about, because I mentioned before that there's a strong desire from the utilities to bring new production into the market. The larger utilities are in a position to offer both slightly more flexible terms, but also scale. If they've got a big contract portfolio, then they can quite conceivably offer a £500,000 per annum contract, for example. And once you've got one or two of those, you can fold in and build in the portfolio And those portfolios can be anything from 50 to 250,000 pounds per annum.
Okay.
And then they've all got bells and whistles, and they've got flex associated with them, and delivery windows, and all of the complicated stuff that Olga needs to get on top of, which is in those discussions, negotiations.
Yes, and look, and I think the question is not about the quantity, right? Because you rightly said that we need to show ourselves, and we should establish that we are well known, and the company is well known, and Namibia is very advantageous country to work with. We are at a startup level, right? And we need to start producing and to make the first deliveries done. So, yeah, we can responsibly speak about long-term contracts, speaking about, and it will be term contracts and maybe 5-year, maybe longer-term contracts. But maybe at the beginning, the amount for the delivery will not be massive, but it's good to start with.
Right, and tell me this then, because we're not talking about can you explore, can you find, can you make discoveries. We're way past that. We're going to produce, and it's a question of the economics around the financing, right? So the fascinating, these discussions are important. Your role is very, very important in terms of the economic success of the company, right? So with these sorts of contracts, how much leverage do you have given the kind of economic backdrop in which you're having this conversation? The geopolitical situation in Niger, Russia, you name it, it's got a bit messy. How much leverage does that give you? What does it change the tone and nature of the conversations? And how much leverage is left? Because I'm intrigued by this. Is it a seller's market? Is it a buyer's market? Or is it just crossing over now?
That's a very interesting question, Yes, of course, generally speaking, there are always either sellers or buyers. But while like nuclear industry, it's because it's partnering market.
Yeah.
Because in nuclear industry, if we speak about utilities and fuel suppliers, no matter who they are, uranium or converters or enrichers or fuel fabricators, we are all, or both parties are very largely interdependent,
right,
and interconnected, and I would say inter-supportive. Because
they're also both into profit, so I'm trying to work out.
Yes. So, and why I'm saying this, because they're very, it's not straightforward relationships. It's a lot of delicate discussion and a lot of what we can bring to the utilities and what utilities can bring to us, right? And the piece of art is to find the middle ground where both parties will be interested, right? And it is not sometimes just price.
Okay.
It is not sometimes just...
What are the problems you're solving for them if it's not?
So when we're speaking about utilities, first of all, utilities, they also have their portfolios, right? And when they look at their contract portfolio, they look about different pricing mechanisms, right? And maybe sometimes the new contract that they're concluding, it's maybe at a little bit higher price, but it is very stable jurisdiction.
Right.
They want to have geographical diversity. They want to have suppliers diversity. They want to have new suppliers coming to the market, and they're ready to pay this premium to...
So it's a risk premium.
It is not risk premium, it's de-risking premium. They want to have new suppliers to come and to bring diversity to their portfolios, right?
Okay.
New countries as well, geographical location, new pricing mechanism within their portfolio. So maybe fixed price can be for someone higher, but it will be a great fit to this particular portfolio of this particular utility. So it is not price dumping, right?
No,
never.
No. And then coming the flip side of that in terms of what a company like you needs from those discussions in terms of signaling to the market, in terms of the public markets, which is, do you look at the quality of the partner? Because sometimes there are traders who can solve your problem financially, but don't necessarily solve your problems in terms of giving confidence to the public markets that this is AAA rated, etc. So that part of selection is important, right?
Yeah. So of course the partners for us, the long-term partners is the key, right? And of course, when we are looking at the utilities, and utilities can be interested in us when they have long-term prospects.
Right.
When they are speaking either extending the lifetime of their new reactors or new utilities coming, like Poland, right?
Yeah.
So, and new projects they're building, SMRs they're building, and so on. So, and this is on one hand. On the other hand, what we can bring in terms of ESG, for example, because many utilities are now speaking about decarbonizing of their, electricity portfolios and so on. And they're looking about what they are giving to their customers, but on the other hand, they are looking at what suppliers can bring to them in order to meet their goals in front of their suppliers.
Right.
And Bannerman is an exceptional company in this respect. And I've been looking at what Brandon and the team was doing in terms of ESG, social responsibility, investing in terms of helping the country where they're working. So not just taking, but giving. And it's very important. And utilities value this.
Yeah.
And the partners value that, not necessarily utilities, but it depends on the philosophy within the company with which.
Right. And tell me this, there will be a lot of inexperienced utilities coming through. There's a lot of new, we talked about it many times. There's a lot of countries that are getting either back into nuclear or moving towards nuclear for the first time, right? There will be SMRs, probably, in a lot of those instances. Therefore, you're going to have people in positions in some of those countries who don't necessarily understand how to put this together.
I wouldn't put it this way.
It's going to be harder, let me put it like that.
I wouldn't put it this way either, because nuclear industry, we are blessed to work with extremely smart, well-educated people. And when a new company is coming...
No, I'm looking at him. I said, not everyone. Mostly. Yeah. Okay. Again.
When a new company or newly utility is developing, of course, look at ENEC, how many people they brought from the United States, lots of advisors, experienced people. So you're never alone when you are in the nuclear industry, and it's very supportive. And when it is a newcomer country, it's very supportive from various organizations like IAEA, World Nuclear Association, so regulators, policy builders, and so on. So the country is not alone, and the company is never alone. Yeah, for sure.
Interesting. Okay, that's good. This is the kind of insight we've not had ever on this show. Let's go back to the company though, because you obviously got a few more things to advance. So we won't ask about timing, because that's a question or function of the market response in terms of pricing, the sorts of contracts that you can get, and you're I guess next few days you'll be touching it, feeling that out. What are the kind of long poles in the tent for you? What are the kind of risks still out there? Because we've seen some risks appear out of left field from nowhere. A lot of curveballs coming out of this. For you, in terms of that management and de-risking, or your ability to move forward, what's it going to come from? It's not going to be from coups. Let's put it that way.
Not in Namibia,
right? Because someone talks about.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's worth touching on that, because not everyone who's watching this will be au fait with Africa, because 54 different countries. West Africa is, Niger is 5,400 kilometers from Namibia. It's totally different form of Africa. It's West Africa, Francophone, where Southern Africa. I could go on and on. But in summary, Namibia has been independent for 30 years. It's never even contemplated the idea of a coup, let alone had a coup or a failed coup. It's an extremely different environment to West Africa. But it's important that people understand that. And I'm not just saying that. I've lived there for more than 5 years. I've been going to Namibia for many years, other parts of that. So Namibia's not one of the long poles in the tent in terms of things yet to be achieved.
Yeah, and the reason I bring that up, because I think when we first started talking, 2019, it had been labelled with some newsletter AK-47 Africa, right? So it's very nice to sort of broad brushstroke from by people who've never been there, never worked there.
Let me give you
it's a tough one, right?
We were there last week. I got in on Sunday and we left on Friday night. I didn't see a single firearm. Not a single firearm. So it's not a case of, I didn't see any bandits with AK-47s. I didn't see any police or military people. We went to a function that the president was at, and we didn't even have our bags checked.
Yeah. I was shocked.
Yeah.
We that's how safe it is. There were, 500 people in that function?
Yeah, it was.
At least, Everyone wanders in. No bags checked, no metal detectors, no nothing. So it's just a totally different regime. You wouldn't do that in Australia, let alone Namibia, but people are very peaceful.
I stand back there. I saw it for myself last year. It really, and I just want to make that point because it's too easy to kind of broad brushstroke ridiculous statements like that. So coming on to things which you need to do, what are they?
So if you run through the list, all of the technical work been done. We're very fortunate to have access to a low-cost form of processing, and that's heap leaching. We ran a pilot plant on that you've seen with your own. You climbed to the top of it yourself. We ran that for several years.
Yep.
So we've put beyond all doubt the effectiveness of that heap leaching and utterly de-risked the process with an enormous amount of test work. The engineering has been done exceptionally well to a definitive level. We're now working on front-end engineering and design. Now, what that does is a couple of things. It gives us time in the sense that the alternative is to wait until we've got finance and use that debt funding to draw it from the financiers and then start doing the front-end engineering and design. We wanted to get that done now. We had a big cash balance and still do, and we could fund that and keep us moving forward, again, to maintain this very unique position that we're in, which is large scale production and ready to start when the utilities need us to start. Usually the biggest pole, and we talked about this, that usually the biggest pole in the tent is your environmental approvals, and we have all of that. The infrastructure in our CapEx, we have allowed for the construction of a water pipeline. The desal plant, which is already built, has excess capacity that we've been offered. The other forms of infrastructure, like where you've been to our site, so you know that the power lines are almost right there. We just need a short little spur. You know that the highway that dual carriageway highway goes all the way down to port. Wildfish Bay Port has been exporting uranium for 45 years and still does so. By the time we're in production, 3 other mines. So there's a good consistency of Class 7 shipping coming back. So when you start to run through all of these things, you then talk about team. And Namibian uranium experience is not easy to come by. Namibia is a small country. Uranium experience has washed out of the sector over the last 20 years. But we've got that experience exactly where we need it. You've obviously got Olga and myself who are deeply embedded in the nuclear sector. On the ground, our managing director in country, Werner Evold, was the head of mining for Rossing uranium mine, Rossing is still the closest analogue to the mine that we will build. Our single biggest cost? Mining. We've got the guy who ran mining at the mine that's closest to what we're building. Our chairman in country, Mike Leach, he still has a very active involvement in everything that we're doing. He was a managing director of Rossing uranium mine. The most recent very large-scale mine that was built in country is the Husab uranium mine. That was the $2.2 billion takeover of Extract Resources in 2012. So who have we got from that? We've got Norman Green, who heads our technical steering committee. Norman was the CEO of Skorlyakova Uranium, the project developer when it constructed. And our COO is Gavin Chamberlain, who built the Husab project on behalf of the EPCM joint venture. It was more than a $2 billion capital. So it was a joint venture between what's now Wood PLC and another large-scale, Bateman, another large-scale South African engineering firm. So with those key uranium hires in place, we can now afford to take some uranium people, but some general mining skills. as long as we've got the uranium experience in those very key positions, there's a couple of others that we need to ensure understand uranium, radiological, health and safety, but we've got the experience where it actually counts. That can be a very big pole in the tent because, well, you know this, right? Because you know everyone in the sector. There's very little uranium. Genuine uranium.
Constantly cry for help. Absolutely. Not just, it's not Namibia. It's everywhere. Yeah, it's Australia. It's US. We have this conversation every week. It's been a long time. People have retired, gone fishing, or worse, gone further out to sea. They're not around anymore. So, no, I understand that. So,
so just on those people. So then, building the workforce is still a long tent.
Yep,
long pole in the tent. Namibia is a small country, but it does have a vibrant mining sector. We do have 3 other uranium mines that are constantly training people and producing skills that has now formed the bedrock of other mining in Namibia. So there's a reasonable amount of mobility amongst those people, and we're not a massive workforce. We'll employ about 750 people compared to much larger numbers at some of those bigger mines. So whilst there's a lot of work to be done there, we don't see that as a risk per se. It's just simply something that Gavin and his team.
Okay, so talk to people who have not invested in Bannerman yet. Why you compared to the rest, as it were? Well,
I think if you were to take it most simplistically, right now, you've seen our share price go up, significantly in the last few months. But if you look at a 3-year share price graph, when sentiment flows have come into the sector, I think it'd be fair to describe Bannerman's share price growth as explosive. The reason is that we're well known for our leverage. Significant production, 3.5 million pounds per annum. It's proximate, as in we're ready to produce once we've got financing. The expansion potential that we have is quite unique. So we can go from 3.5 million pounds to more than 7 million pounds. It's a very big ore body, more than 225 million pounds of resources. In 2012, we defined a reserve of 130 million pounds. So we're just very, very large, with large-scale production. And if you guys put some numbers on that, when we completed our definitive feasibility study in December last year, at a $65 uranium price, we had a NPV, this is now after tax in US dollars, of $209 million. You increase that selling price by only $15 a pound, and that NPV more than doubles to 435 million US. Now, sentiment is such where a lot of the investors that I'm talking to don't see that the spot price is going to stop at that point. And they're investing for scenarios which are higher than that. And so because of that leverage that we've got, that's when an investor's able to include Bannerman as the serious talk, TORQUE, in their portfolio because of that leverage. You can then talk a lot about the secondary aspects, the quality of management, jurisdiction, quality of the project.
Here to make money, Brandon. Here to make money.
So if that's the main focus, then that's what I'd direct you to. It's the leverage that we've got in this sector and the fact that it's an advanced project that once we've got the mining license, which we're told it will be imminent, that's the very last hurdle. And then it's just down to price and profitability.
Getting close to that point, which very few are. So I appreciate you coming in, giving us that update. Thank you very much. And thank you for the intelligent bit. It's really helpful. I've learned a thing here. So that hopefully speak to you soon, and maybe even talk me through that fuel report so I can understand it a little bit better. Because there's some good stuff in there, it looks like, but it might get lost on some people, what the opportunity is ahead. Good luck with the rest of this week. Lots of meetings?
Yeah. It's been frantic. I can't tell you how much interest there is right now. It's this is undoubtedly an order of magnitude more optimistic than even this time last year. People are finally catching up to what you and I have been talking about.
It is time I mean it. Yes. No, be good. Thanks for coming in. We'll see you soon, okay?
Thanks. Thank you. Cheers.